We'll hit the last position group for the offense, the offensive line, the trenches, the big boys up front. We're going to start off with the offensive tackles. Last year, the Browns went in the season with Jack Conklin, Jedrick Wills, DeJuan Jones, and James Hudson as their tackles on the 53-man roster. So this year, looking at the roster as it currently stands, we've got Jack Conklin, 6'6", 308 pounds. He is 30 years old. This is his 10th NFL season. The Browns reworked his deal for this season in 2025. His cap number is now $5.6 million with a $20 million dead cap. So he is here for the season. Jack Conklin's not a guy who's getting moved over the summer. He did miss the first 5 weeks of 2024. He was still recovering from the knee injury that he sustained in week 1 against the Bengals in 2023. Last year, whenever he did come back, though, he played the rest of the season, and he allowed just 38 pressures and 7 sacks total on the year. Now, the other main tackle, the guy projected to start at the left tackle, DeJuan Jones, 6'8", 375 pounds. The dude is a mountain of a man, 23 years old, 3rd NFL season, so he's very young still. And, what we saw from him as a rookie was really, really encouraging. Last year was not as much until he switched over to the left tackle spot, and it was like, maybe this guy can do something here. This is his 3rd year of his rookie deal. He did miss time again in 2024 so he missed time during the season is what I'm getting at here. And then he suffered a season-ending ankle injury in week 11. Lost him for the 2nd straight season. Ended both of his NFL seasons on IR. Not great. This is why the tackle position is definitely iffy for the Browns because Conklin's injury prone. Now you've got DeJuan Jones that you probably have to start labeling that way. He allowed 22 pressures, just 4 sacks in 2024, but his splits between right tackle and left tackle last year are what is so interesting. So filling in at right tackle before Jack Conklin got back from the injury, DeJuan Jones gave up 16 pressures and 4 sacks. When he moved over to left tackle, whenever Jed Wills decided he didn't want to play football anymore and all that kind of stuff, DeJuan Jones only gave up 6 pressures and 0 sacks in the 3 games at left tackle. So I did make a note here. Got to mention this. The 3 games whenever DeJuan Jones was playing left tackle were with Jameis Winston at quarterback. So all of the sack and pressure numbers from whenever he was at the right tackle, that might be a little more inflated over those first 6 weeks because Deshaun Watson was on pace for taking like the most single season sacks in NFL history. The dude was taking at minimum 6 sacks a game, if not more. It was very hard to watch. And, it got better once DeJuan Jones took over. Once Jameis Winston took over and DeJuan Jones moved over to left tackle. So the new face on the team here, they signed swing tackle Cornelius Lucas in free agency, 6'9", 325 pounds. So the Browns actually found somebody who's taller than DeJuan Jones, surprisingly. He's 33 years old. This is his 11th season in the NFL. They signed him to a 1-year, $1.65 million deal. He played his last 5 seasons in Washington with the Commanders. He has played both tackle spots back and forth during his career. He's logged starts at both right and left tackle. Last season, he played 464 total snaps, 273 pass blocking snaps. He allowed just 12 total pressures and only 1 sack the entire season. So he is in my opinion, excellent swing tackle signing. Should be very good for us since we know, and I already mentioned that we've got injury-prone guys in Conklin and Jones at the tackle position. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Cornelius Lucas playing snaps at one of the tackles, maybe both tackles at certain points this season, probably getting a start or 2 here and there. It's probably going to happen. So just be prepared for that. But I think they've got a guy who can handle it, and I like this signing a lot. Currently on the roster for the summer, the Browns also have Roy Mbeteka. He's the international program player for that roster spot, and Julian Pearl, 2 guys on reserve deals. Last but not least, let's move into the interior of the offensive line. So we're going to look at last year. It was Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, Zach Zinter, Javian Cohen at the guards, and you had Ethan Posick, Nick Harris, and Luke Whippler, who was obviously on IR all year at the center position. Joel Bitonio is 6'4", 320 pounds, 33 years old. This will be his 12th and most likely final season in the NFL. So let's try our best to enjoy what we have left with Joel Bitonio this season before this ride is over, because it has been a fun ride with Joel Bitonio. I did not, looking back, I don't feel like I enjoyed having Joe Thomas on the team enough. And then all of a sudden he suffered that torn triceps, and then snap, boom, just like that, his career was over. And looking back, I wish I had enjoyed the time having Joe Thomas. I know the team sucked, but the whole time he was here, but still, he's a Hall of Fame, legendary player. So I'm just trying to enjoy having Joel Bitonio more, because I want to appreciate what he brings to the team while we have him. He's a $12 million cap hit this season. This guy has played 1,000 or more snaps in 9 of his 11 seasons. 1,000 or more snaps in the last 8 consecutive seasons, including 1,178 snaps last year in 2024. He allowed just 32 total pressures and only 3 sacks on 815 pass blocking snaps. Joel Bitonio is, in my opinion, maybe not first ballot, not like Joe Thomas, but he is a future Pro Football Hall of Famer. Moving over to the other guard, Wyatt Teller, who is a personal friend of the show. His wife sends us Christmas cards and all that stuff, so we're pretty close with Teller. All right, I'm stretching that a little bit, but his wife did send us a Christmas card once, so there is that. I'm not lying about that. But Wyatt Teller, 6'4", 315 pounds. He is 30 years old, 8th NFL season, $14.2 million cap hit with a $20 million dead cap. This could possibly be his final season in Cleveland too. The contract makes him very movable for cap relief next year in 2026. Not movable right now because of that $20 million dead cap, but for next year, he might not be on this team. 885 snaps in 2024, 610 pass blocking snaps. He allowed 27 pressures and just 2 sacks all season. So even with the abysmal quarterback play last year, guys just holding on to the ball forever, just trying to take sacks, both Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller had fantastic seasons. Moving on here, Zach Zinter, the rookie from last year, 6'6", 310 pounds, 24 years old. This is going to be his second season. He was our 3rd round pick last year in 2024. Obviously, not a whole lot to talk about with Zinter because he played as a depth role last year. He had a couple starts when Wyatt Teller was injured, but I guess Bitonio did miss a little time during a game or two here and there. So Zinter filled in at points. He did start 3 games as a rookie. His biggest and best game was against the Washington Commanders. He started and played 62 snaps. He allowed just 2 pressures and only 1 sack, and that was with Deshaun Watson back there just trying to take sacks. So Zinter played pretty well that game. He also started against the Raiders. 59 snaps, allowed 3 pressures and a sack against the Raiders. I'm definitely optimistic about this kid. I think he was a stud at Michigan. The Browns definitely have him pegged as one of their future starting guards. No question in my mind that moving into 2026 with the most likely retirement of Joel Bitonio, the very likely trade of Wyatt Teller, Zach Zinter will be a starting offensive guard next year. Which then brings me to Tevin Jenkins, 6'6", 320 pounds, 27 years old. This is his 5th NFL season. He signed a 1-year, $2.3 million deal with the Browns this offseason. So, who is Tevin Jenkins? He is a former 2nd-round pick by the Chicago Bears back in 2021. He played his entire, obviously, rookie contract with the Bears, was a free agent this offseason. And most people thought that he would sign somewhere to be a starter. He was a starting level, starting caliber offensive guard. And there was a lot of teams in free agency that needed that type of player this year. He didn't go anywhere to be a starter. He came to Cleveland in a depth role, which I find interesting. And maybe I'm overanalyzing it and looking too far into it, but I'll get to that in a second. Tevin Jenkins played both tackle and guard for the Bears. So as a rookie, he actually started at left tackle. So there's some versatility here, some flexibility within the scheme that Andrew Berry likes to have. He moved to guard his next season. He started 11 games at right guard before he was placed on IR. The next season, his 3rd season, he moved over to left guard. He missed the start of that season with a calf injury, but then he started 16 games last year for Chicago, 738 total snaps, 495 pass blocking snaps. He allowed just 17 pressures and only 4 sacks all year. And he was dealing with the same thing that Teller and Bitonio were dealing with here in Cleveland. Caleb Williams took a ton of sacks. That's all Caleb Williams wanted to do last year, was get sacked, just like Deshaun Watson just wanted to get sacked all the time. So overall, Tevin Jenkins grades out very well, and he grades out very well in the run game. So what I was alluding to a few minutes ago, I wouldn't be surprised. This is something that I'm going to be watching as the season rolls on here. I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns either extend Tevin Jenkins at some point during the season, or they make him a high priority re-sign next offseason, and then they have Zach Zinter and Tevin Jenkins as the next reign of offensive guards on the Browns line. That's kind of how I'm looking at this with Tevin Jenkins, because I think the Browns see a future with him, and the future is not right now, but it is pretty darn close. As close as next year, or it could be this year if one of the two guards goes down. Now you've got a guy who's not just a depth piece, he is also a quality caliber starter. The Browns also have Javian Cohen, Lorenzo Thompson from the practice squad from last year, and they added rookie Brady Latham for camp this year. The last two guys to talk about here are the centers. Ethan Posick, 6'6", 320 pounds, 29 years old. It's his 9th NFL season, a $7.7 million cap hit this season. Final year on his current deal with the Browns. We'll see if he gets extended or re-signed. It could be his final year with the Browns. So the entire offensive line, especially like the interior right now, could look completely different next season. He played all year in 2024, 1,073 snaps, 747 pass blocking snaps. He allowed 28 pressures and just 3 sacks the entire year. So the interior of our offensive line, I know people want to dog the offensive line and say they were crap and they're getting old and they were terrible last year. The interior was pretty solid last year. If you go look at the numbers, go look at the stats, despite what they were given to play with, quarterbacks who had no idea what the hell they were doing in that weird Ken Dorsey offense last year, the offensive interior was pretty darn good. For Posick, last year was a down year for his PFF grades, but historically he does grade very well in both pass and run blocking for the Browns. And like I said, just 3 sacks allowed all last year. Finally, we'll wrap it up here. Luke Whippler, 6'3", 303 pounds, 24 years old. It's his 3rd season on his rookie deal with the Browns. I think he was a 6th or 7th round pick out of Ohio State as a rookie. I forget it. It was one of those. He broke his ankle in the first preseason game last year, missed the entire season. So really the only action that we've ever seen in the NFL from the former Buckeye was that Week 18 game against the Bengals that I talked about with David Bell. Back in 2023, he started that game. He played 53 snaps, and he allowed just 2 pressures and no sacks in the game. So that's all we've ever seen at the NFL level from Luke Whippler.